I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
You think Apple's got the corner on good laptop chips? No, Intel's got some good stuff coming up. Corsair launches a new LCD little screen, boy. Yeah, you got next-gen Witcher details, and Dbrand is not backing down from Sony. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your host, Brett. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. You ready for it? Okay, well, let's go ahead and start talking about Intel's Alder Lake Mobile, because there's been new performance numbers and stuff coming out of the 12900H, which is gonna have 14 cores and 20 threads on a mobile processor. Obviously, this is not necessarily as high of core count as what we talked about in yesterday's episode of Hot News with AMD's 16 Zen 4 cores, but Alder Lake coming in with 14. It's going to happen sooner. It's supposed to launch in January alongside new RTX 30 series GPUs, and it's going to have 6 high-performance cores and 8 efficiency cores to end up with 14 in total, but only the performance cores will have hyper-threading, which means it's 14 cores and 20 threads. And the benchmark shows that at 16 gigabytes of memory. But this isn't even the highest end chip that we're expecting to come out of Alder Lake on mobile. We are also expecting 8 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores on that to get 16 cores total from Intel as well. So it's not just AMD that's coming out with a 16 core mobile processor. Is this going to be what it takes for Intel and AMD to start competing with Apple Silicon? Maybe, potentially. The heterogeneous architecture does seem really intriguing on Alder Lake. The closer we get to that, the more excited I become to just see how it performs. Will I pre-order it? No. But will I heavily anticipate it doing something? Indeed, which is all I do here.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
So let's heavily anticipate the 12900K, because we've got some benchmarks showing that the single-threaded score on the 12900K is 25% faster than the 5950X, but the multi-thread score is 11% lower, which makes slight sense because it's going to have really fast initial cores. The IPC increase of Alder Lake is supposed to be really good, and even though it does have 16 cores, the 5950X has 16 full power cores, whereas the Alder Lake chip will have half full power and then half efficiency, which maybe Intel will explain this when they launch this chip, but I don't get it. I still don't get why you need efficiency cores on a desktop. Like, they already turbo down and they already run at lower clocks, and you already have more efficient ways of dealing with like power states on desktop processors. You're not like conserving anything by delivering these. On mobile, it makes tons of sense because then you could have optimized battery life, but on desktop, I still don't get it. But here are the performance numbers. Look at that 12900K Go slapping the crap out of the 11900K and slightly losing to the 5950X and multi-threaded, but beating the single-threaded by quite a bit. Does seem to be pretty good according to the benchmarks that are coming out about the 12900K, of which you only have to wait like 1 or 2 weeks for to find out more details. And do you want more details coming in on your PC? You want to have that little CPU cooler not be flashing RGB, but rather be flashing RGB in pixels so that you can see things. Corsair's got you with the latest cooler that's going to feature an LCD screen. It's not quite OLED, but it's 2.1 inches, and it comes in 3 different sizes. As you can see here, you should be able to put GIFs and all of that good stuff on there, as well as have little data entry points, and it's going to be programmable via IQ. The only thing you need to be worried about is that pricing, $260 for the 240 mil version, which, in case you not have any comparison for what liquid coolers cost, the one without the screen's $150. So it's $110 more to get that LCD screen, which isn't even OLED. Is it worth it? I don't know. Haven't seen reviews on it. The 280 mil version is coming in at $290, and the 360 mil version is coming in at $310. So it's very clear that that little screen on there is costing the heck ton of money, but you don't want to pay a heck ton of money for a PC, all right? And you don't want to buy a pre-built either, because you actually want to use your blood, sweat, and tears to go into your PC. You want to slice your finger on your own IO shield, isn't that right? Well, NZXT's got the best thing for you, because other companies are doing this. Newegg already has like a matching program for this. NZXT is going to have their build PC building kits where you can buy a pre-built and get all of the bonuses that come with it, which is a 2-year warranty on all of the parts, as well as the full customer support of NZXT, and you build it yourself, which is I guess like part of the process of like getting a gaming PC. I get it, but I also, is this a way that they're like just skimping on labor, that you have to spend $1,400 and get their Starter Pro build kit that you then assemble yourself? It's going to come with instructions teaching you how to do it. The $1,400 version comes with an 11400F and an RTX 3060 Ti, as well as 16 gigs of RAM. It is good that it has the same warranty that a normal pre-built would have, even though you are the one who's building it yourself. It's an interesting concept. What do you think of non-built pre-builts? I want to hear from you down below in those comments. And now you're going to hear from me about the Cryptostonks Bitcoin. Woo! Surging up 3.43% to sit at 64,124, very close to its all-time high of just under $65,000. Bitcoin surging over the last week. Look at that increase. It's popping off. Ethereum also having a good time, not quite as close to its all-time high, but still sitting pretty at 38.67. Dogecoin down slightly on the day to 24.5 cents. GameStop closing the day up slightly, 0.4% up, increase 186.79 was the closing number, and then AMC closing 5% down. This is a heckin' volatile stock, my friends. It's been hot and cold. It's been yes and no. It's been in and out, and it's just been up 5% one day, down 5% the next. $40.80 is what AMC closed at. While we're talking about cryptocurrency, Facebook finally launched their cryptocurrency platform in select regions for select markets for select things without their cryptocurrency, now launching in the US and Guatemala as a small pilot of the Novi digital wallet, which is a spin-off of the platform that they are initially conceived of. And they don't have Diem, which is the name of the cryptocurrency that was supposed to go in it, which was the replacement for Libra after all of the companies like PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, eBay, Stripe, and everybody that made it seem like it was a good idea, you know, having all of those backers, when they went away, Facebook was like, oh, maybe people won't want this. So it launched, but to very little fanfare. And you know, it hasn't launched, but has like a medium amount of fanfare. The Pixel 6 and 6 Pro getting announced by Google yesterday in full detail. They've been teasing it out forever, but now we have more details about these devices, as well as the tensor processor that's going to be going into it. It has a whole bunch of stuff in Google calling it the milestone for machine learning. In case you're not familiar, Google's been making tensor processing units for ages. Like back when machine learning was at its infancy, at least in the consumer realm, you can find details on Google's TPUs that they were using in the cloud for a while, and now they're bringing that to a smartphone. So they're going to have the most accurate automatic speech recognition, as well as better Google Assistant stuff, but it's not all that it's going to have. So it has a upgraded CPU, GPU, ISP, all of that good stuff. It has 2 high-powered Cortex X1 cores, 2 Cortex A76 cores, and then 4 low-power efficiency cores, which is suspected to be the Cortex 55, and then a 20-core GPU that's going to be added on to that. So it's expecting that it's going to get a lot more performance, so the double of the high-end cores over a normal, let's say, Snapdragon 888, but it has fewer mid-range cores. It has only 2, whereas comparatively usually 4, but it has more efficiency cores, so it might be better on the battery life for that regard, but they're doing it so that it's playing for efficiency at medium workloads, where they focused a lot of their design effort on how the workload is allocated, how energy distributed, etc. But they also did include like massive batteries with these things. The 6 Pro coming in with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but the single core performance is 80% faster than the Pixel 5, and the GPU is 370% faster than the previous generation. But they weren't using the flagship Snapdragon at the time, so it does seem like, at least according to the paper stuff, because no reviewer that I saw has actually been allowed to review this as of yet, it's just hands-ons and first impressions, at least according to paper numbers, the tensor processor at least seems to be competitive, even if it's not going to leapfrog the generational stuff that's currently going on. But they're also replacing the camera setup for the first time since the Pixel 3. It's going to have a 50 megapixel sensor that bins everything down to a 12.5 megapixel output, and it allows 150% more light than previously, as well as an overhauled video setup. And then because of the AI, it's going to be able to take multiple pictures and fuse them together to create a face unblurring effect, as well as motion mode, which will allow you to get like blurring, trailing stuff of like cars in the distance, just make like like really nice pictures if you're wanting to do that. And then it's also going to have Magic Eraser, which can allow you to remove that unwanted friend from your friend group who always insists on coming but should never really be there and can't take a good picture. Now you can Google Magic Erase them out of the background, just like that construction guy wasn't bothering nobody and he just got Thanos snapped out of existence. Google, you're trying to rewrite history as it's happening? This is ridiculous. But what's not as ridiculous is Pixel Pass, where you can actually bundle together the smartphone plus a whole bunch of stuff for a rather reasonable price monthly. At $45 a month, you get the Pixel 6 plus 200 gigs of Google One cloud storage, YouTube Premium, YouTube Music Premium, which is included with YouTube Premium, and Google Play Pass, and then it's $55 in case you want the 6 Pro. This is very similar to other programs that smartphone manufacturers have. The difference here is that Google will only allow you to upgrade every 2 years, and if you cancel before the 2 years up, you have to pay full price. I kind of get it. It makes a lot of sense. 45 bucks is actually not too bad to get. I mean, it's a $600 phone to pay that over 2 years, but considering what people pay for things monthly these days, I really don't see this as being an outrageous thing, just an option that people can potentially have. And Google's giving you more options when it comes to Google Assistant. You're sitting in a phone tree, it's like, hey, press 1 to speak to Caroline, press 2 to speak to Doug, press 3 to call home, press 4 to get to the router of the nonsense thing that you're trying to call in about, and then if you press 6, I'll take you back through the phone tree, but I'll do it in a new way that you didn't hear the first time. Anyways, Google can now remember all of that and display it as text on screen for you so that you can like look at it and input it that way instead of having to try to remember of like, which one did I want? I'm calling in and I have social anxiety and I can't pay attention to 5 things at once. Why? I just want to talk to Doug. Which one was Doug? And which devices have Android 12? Well, now all compatible ones. Google announcing that Pixel or Android 12 is now rolling out to all official smartphones that can support it. And Dbrand now rolling out faceplates to the PS5 that are lawsuit unsupported. No support for lawsuits here because they found a way around the design patent that Sony got, which was just to design something different. Number 1, it has blowholes through it so that you get better cooling. Number 2, it has a cutoff on the top, as you can see here. It doesn't have those like Seto Kaiba popped colors that you've come to expect on the PS5. It's rounded off, which this was kind of my speculation of what they should have done in the first place. Like just design something different, shave it off and round it around, and it absolutely works. And then you could also get LED strips, which is actually really cool. I could totally get in hot news colors. I was talking to Reece. I was like, I have to do this, don't I? I absolutely have to. I don't need a middle skin because I got the Damascus, but it's going to cost me $70.95 for me to upgrade my PS5 again. Gosh dang it. I'm so out of money. Maybe I could just go without that. No, but I want the new plates that allow through the blow through. I want the blow through like that. I want the better cooling on my PS5. Gosh dang it, Dbrand. You're making it so I have to buy your stuff. I see how you're playing this. It was all a giant marketing scheme in the first place. And that's my general feeling when it comes to The Witcher Next Gen Edition. That's supposed to be launching by the end of the year, and thankfully, it's now gotten its ratings over in Europe, which means that it might actually hit the 2021 timeframe. PEGI 18, not necessarily all that unexpected is that rating, but the fact that it is getting rated in Europe does mean that it's likely close to launch, which means I can finally play it again. I've been waiting on the ray tracing update to play it on my gosh dang computer because I've been itching to play The Witcher 3 for the past few months, and I'm just like, no, Brett, hold out for the enhanced edition. Cyberpunk 2077 looked amazing. If they could do anything like that for The Witcher 3, then you're gonna want to play it again when that happens, and you don't want to play it twice in 1 year, but I probably would anyways because I enjoy the heck out of the game. Anyways, these are the rationalizations of a madman who's trying to figure everything out, which is what Microsoft's trying to do with the games industry. They're announcing that, hey, you got any studios for sale?
Because we'll buy more of them. Give us your studios, Daddy.
That's not an exact quote, just so you're aware, but Phil Spencer saying that they're proud of the creators that have chosen to become part of Xbox, and it's not about how much money you make right now or how quickly you develop the games. We really just want you to be part of the big bad family that's known as the Xbox game community. Again, not an exact quote, but saying we are always out there looking for people who we think would be a good match and teams that would be a good match with our strategy. So we're definitely not done. There's no quota. There's no kind of timeline where I have to go acquire studios by a certain time. But if we find a studio where we have a good fit, we share what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do, if we feel we could both get better together, absolutely, they're gonna snap them up. All right, and I have no quota for how long hot news episodes are supposed to be. I'm the boss around here, and my quota for my decision right now is I'm done. That's the end of this episode of Hot News. Why don't you go check out yesterday's episode of Hot News where we recap the Apple M1 Max, which is great stuff, as well as the Ryzen 16 core processor. You can check out that one, and I'll see you tomorrow for breakfast, my friends. Cheerios.
Patient.